Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here. This time reviewing on the 1984 film Supergirl. Now, as you know, Supergirl was a superhero film that was directed by Jen Knott, who also made and directed the film Santa Claus the Movie. And this film is meant to be more of a spin-off to the Richard Donner Superman film series, and was meant to take place after the events of Superman 3. Now, originally, Superman 3 was meant to have Supergirl in it with Brainiac or Mr. Mxyzptlk. That never happened. And the story does differ a lot from the comics, and the premise of the film is meant to feature Kara Zor-El, who lives on Argo City. That is an isolated Kryptonian community that survived the planet's destruction. After a device known as the Omega Darren ends up being launched out from space and headed to Earth, Kara goes on a one-man mission to rescue the artifact. And of course, this is the point where I do think the plot goes a little silly, and it feels like there was some potential to do something big. Again, when you kind of got the villain Selina, who's meant to be a power-hungry witch would be, she's basically the more Lex Luthor replacement, and kind of is more like this more dangerous threat for Supergirl. Personally, I feel she's not interesting, and I know that DC Comics eventually did adapt her in the more recent Supergirl comics. And again, when you kind of got one of her lackeys known as Vanessa, you can kind of tell she's maybe a kind of like Otis. When you kind of got her other lackey, Nigel, you can kind of tell he's not evil, as he knows Selina is going to cause a lot more trouble. And I would have liked to have seen Nigel be more of a mentor to Kara, to help her learn to control her powers and to prepare her for Selina. Now, of course, this is where I think the film does get a little silly, because when you kind of got Jimmy Olsen thrown in for the movie, you kind of expect him to be the launch pad to the series, basically crossing over from one film to the next. Here, he's hardly in it, and feels like a bit of a wasted potential. And here, you also got Lucy Lane, who's thrown in to be the sort of younger Lois Lane. And I know in the original films, Lois Lane mentions having a sister who had 3 kids and a mortgage. This implies that the other one is meant to be more of an older sister, and this Lucy Lane in the film is meant to be more of a younger sister. And I feel like, as well, when looking at the film, they also do try to, have Kara be more amazed about Clark's success as Superman. And originally, Clark was going to be featured in Supergirl, but Christopher Lee's backed out and didn't want any part of it. And I feel the movie tries to be good, but it either comes off as a little boring, dull, uninteresting, or just doesn't work. Personally, I feel if I was to make the film, I would have had it take place after Superman 2, where at the ending could have had Kara shipped out from her pod, ending up crashing near Smallville. You could have had Clark meeting Kara and ending up taking Kara in as a foster daughter, and eventually giving her to the Danvers to look after her while he's away. This also would have had Kara wanting to prove she's a hero in her own right, and at the same time could have dealt with Natasha Luthor, whose goal is to carry on her uncle's work. And this would have been a moment for Kara to learn to be her own person and try and be something bigger. But no, it just goes against with the whole magical kind of witch would be, and Yeah, it really seemed like there was some good ideas. Personally, I feel this isn't the worst entry. They do try their best, and when you kind of got the bully character with her friend, they're obviously replacements to Lex Luthor and Otis, and it seems like they could have been interesting to have seen the versions of Natasha Luthor or someone else. But no, it just feels like they had to throw it in to try and do their own spin off series. In my overview thoughts, Supergirl is a bit of a hit and miss. Characters feel like replacements again, nothing feels interesting, and there's a lot of wasted potential to do a good film. So I think it deserves a thumbs in the middle. It's kind of alright, kind of okay, but really not the best entry. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.